my mind is made up.
Hey guys, this is Eric Kyle, publisher of Latitudes and Attitudes magazine.
And I'm David Levesque, editor of Latitudes and Attitudes, and welcome to Three Sheets, our podcast where we chill and chat with individuals making a difference in the cruising lifestyle.
Each episode, we'll dive into all things cruising related and bring you some of the most influential characters out there. So sit back, grab your favorite bottle, light them if you got them, and enjoy the adventure.
So, hey, we're here today with Lauren Landers. Pretty epic photo that was gracing our recent summer issue, along with a pretty awesome article, spending her life in the Bahamas. So, hey, Lauren, it's great to see you. Thanks for joining our Three Sheets podcast.
Thank you guys for having me. Pleasure to be here.
We're stoked to have you. So, I don't know. I've been thinking of 1,000 questions I wanted to ask you, but let's just start with the obvious. So what exactly is the story behind this photo?
So I was running charters with a business partner, Allie Riley, and I think we had finished our first or second charter. We were in this beautiful bay, and she mentioned that we need to get some pictures for you and stuff while I'm here. It's like, yeah, definitely. Let me think on a few. And I'd always wanted a picture of me sitting on my keel under the boat. So we jumped in and did that. And then she's like, why don't you come over here? And so we were just kind of messing around. And so I was just like walking to her, holding my mask. And she's like, why don't you take off your mask? Like, give me your mask. And then she looked, she's like, actually, no, it looks really good with you holding your mask, just walking towards her on the sand floor. So it was kind of the impromptu early sunset. We just jumped in the water and took 20 minutes and did some fun pictures, and didn't really expect anything out of them. But
Well, actually, this photo, Lauren won the photo of the year at the Young Cruisers International event and the Annapolis Boat Show last October, which was pretty. Did you ever have any idea that that was going to be possible?
No, they asked me to submit something. They're like, either Instagram picture, just submit something. As I had just finished all 6 charters for 3 months, and I was behind on YouTube and behind on boat work. And it's like, I don't really want to go and sift through my Instagram and pictures. And then finally I was like, okay, that was a fun picture we did. It's pretty cool. I'll just throw that one in there. I think it was the day before they're picking all the submissions and everything. So I did not expect that one bit.
Well, for those who follow you, just epic photos all the time. I mean, you've got some of the most incredible underwater content I have ever seen out there. And for those who don't follow Lauren Landers, make sure you do immediately. You will be stunned at what you see.
Well,
so where does this passion for underwater photography and imaging content, where does this come from you?
Well, I've always loved being on the water and snorkeling. Growing up, we'd come over to the Bahamas and I would never wear fins. I hated wearing any type of fins when we'd get in the water. And we started scuba diving and they made me wear fins, and I was really annoyed. So I kind of preferred the whole snorkeling thing. And then I started seeing things on Instagram when Instagram first came out of free divers. There's just like a lot of fun underwater pictures. And I was like, I want to learn how to free dive. And that was kind of before it really started blowing up. I feel like now it's become more popular. I was probably in middle school when I started seeing these pictures. And once I moved to Florida for college, I started free diving and I just loved it. I had like a little Nikon or something underwater camera I would take with me. My friends had some GoPros and we just had fun. I was filming the fish. We were just taking pictures of each other. And then once I started sailing and kind of getting out here, Andre Musgrove, who's a Bahamian photographer, very established and professional, he would, one of my friends, Stephanie, and I would go out with him and he would take stunning pictures using us as models some of the time. And then I just kind of started, I love being the subject, but I also love just taking pictures, and it's just so beautiful under there, and being able to capture it in whatever way is a lot of fun.
So let's touch on the free diving part. And I might be dating myself with this, but I remember like many moons ago, seeing articles on free divers like in National Geographic and stuff like that, you know, and I'd check it out. It always seemed like what a amazing subculture that was going on there. Okay. And it seems like it's like you just said, like it's really taking off and it's much more mainstream right now. And then you also mentioned Stephanie, right? So
Yeah.
Stephanie Schultz, right? So that's
Yeah.
Freediver. That's cool because she and Cole Harrison have an article in this summer issue also.
Yes.
So that's a pretty cool synergy that's going on there. Give us a bit about how that relationship even came to be.
So Stephanie is definitely someone who is like my older sister now. I had graduated college, and because of Instagram is how I knew her. I kind of knew the whole sailing community that was in the Bahamas at that time. They were quarantined here in COVID. And so they were always posting them sailing, the water, and it was kind of just another water person I followed. And I'd respond to her story sometimes. She would respond to mine. And then that end of COVID summer, she came back to Florida. We had actually both ran from the same hurricane, me with my family and her on her boat. And she's hosting an advanced freediving course. And I've been trying to get my advanced for a while. So she told me to join the course. And that was when we first met. And it was a weekend in early August. And that Wednesday, she posted on her story and said that she was crossing back to the Bahamas. Who wants to join? I was like, I will. Like, just kidding. But I was like, just kidding. I was sitting at work with my boss. We were doing a survey on a boat. And she's like, no, come. She's like, come be my co-captain. Come. I was like, what are the costs? What's everything? She's like, you'll have your own cabin, stay indefinitely, come be my co-captain, help me out. And so within 1 week of meeting her, I jumped on her boat for 3 months. And yeah, our first sail she gave me, we did 3-hour shifts. So I had a 3-hour night shift. I had never really done the whole sailing thing. So I was lucky there was no wind because I wouldn't have been able to adjust a single sail, but I knew how to drive a boat. And so we just had a great time. We didn't really do many charters because it was still COVID ending, but we just had a great time, made a lot of memories. I got to learn a little bit about I worked on sport fishing boats. So the Catamaran kind of gave me the option to learn smaller scale, which meant like we were taking apart her starter, her alternator, and those are things I would have never touched on a sport fishing boat. So it was really nice to be able to learn a lot on that boat, and we developed a really good friendship.
Well, you had mentioned in your article your interest in marine biology.
Yeah.
And I understand that you graduated from Nova Southeastern there in Fort Lauderdale towards the end of COVID. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like?
Yeah. My mom mentioned it when I was in middle school that she would go back. If she were to go back, she would have done it. And growing up in Missouri, we didn't really know what marine biology was, but I knew I loved the ocean. So I figured, why not? And I chose Nova because I visited a lot of colleges, but my grandfather lived in Fort Lauderdale, and I actually did really love the campus and the school. But I went in with the goal of also getting my master's. And in my second year, as we were kind of talking to the professors, it was a really intimate setting. Our class sizes were 10 to 30, and the 30 was usually just our general chemistry, organic chemistry, stuff like that. But our marine biology courses were really intimate. We all knew the professors, they all knew us. And they spent their whole lives in the lab and writing grants to be able to go out in the water for maybe a few hours to collect data and then go back to the lab for the next few months and analyze it all and write papers. And I just wanted to be out on the water. So during my time at Nova, I did look at a lot of jobs. I was looking at a lot of job options, but nothing really stuck out to me because I wanted to be on the water, and it was really hard to come by. Research vessel would have been kind of my ideal job, I think, in that field, but it was really hard to come by. You needed your master's, and even then you weren't even guaranteed something. Mm-hmm. And then COVID happened, and I haven't really looked back on it. I know the option's always there one day if I want to go back to school, but I know this option won't always be here. So,
well, just a little side note, my daughter Ella, she has been going down to the BVI every summer for Sea Treks, which is a bunch of Yeah, a bunch of teenage kids piling onto a bunch of catamarans that are, during the off season down there. I think they get like 50, 60 kids
That's
per
so
trek.
awesome.
And she's going back down actually in a couple of weeks for her,
Ah,
got an internship. She's doing a 7-week
that's awesome.
trip down there. And we are taking her to Nova Southeastern this next year so that she can start her marine biology degree
Oh, that's so
at that
awesome.
same college. So you have been an inspiration to a great many, Lauren, including our little Ella, who aspires to do some of the similar things that you're doing now.
Oh, that means a lot to me. That's really cool to hear.
Keep it up. Keep it up.
Yeah. So, man, where do we go next with this? The inspiration, well, the inspiration part of stuff. So, I mean, I've been boating just for a few years, but Eric, you've been boating for what, since they pretty much made boats?
Yeah, so Noah and I were working on this really big vessel back in the day, and we were trying to figure out how to get everybody and everything on it. And so that was our first journey. I think it lasted like 40 days, maybe 40 nights, something like that.
I think you lost her on the Noah reference.
Yeah, I've been boating for a while, David. Thank you very much.
2 animals, 2 by 2, right? No. So you've been boating for a while. I love the phrase from your article that boats will take from you as much as they give you.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've been boating just for, a little while myself, maybe, I don't know, 8 to 10 years. Eric's been going on for a lot longer, but we both certainly know that boats will definitely take from you as much as they give you. So
Definitely.
I know you talked about, so you have a 93 Oceanus 510 right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So talk a little bit about the trials and tribulations you dealt with that.
So I spent a lot of time looking at boats because it's something I always knew I wanted to do. And it wasn't until I was cruising with my friends that I kind of got a feel for actual models and what I liked about certain boats. And before that, I was just blindly looking on Yacht World. And I really like the older Beneteaus because they have a stronger hull and all the real teak inside. And then I also was going in knowing I was going to have to charter to make money. I never really thought YouTube was going to be a thing. So I bought the boat knowing I was going to charter, which meant there was a specific layout I wanted. And spent a lot of time looking, and I found this boat, and it always looks great from the start. Like, it looks like there's not many issues, but we all know boats break all the time. The engine threw a rod on the sea trial, and it was the original engine, so almost a 30-year-old engine. I chose to replace it, and so the owner covered the cost of them replacing it, but I bought the engine. But when the boat threw the rod, the owner made the decision to sail into a dock. And in Puerto Rico, the winds are dead in the morning, and around 9:30, 10, they pick up to about 25, 30 knots. We were coming into the harbor at the same time that these winds picked up with the full main out and the jib out, and the boat ran into a concrete dock. So that's not something I really made public for a while, but the boat, it was also hurricane season, so all the boats were hauled out and they weren't going to release or haul out any more boats. So the boat was stuck at a dock from August to, I think, mid to late October, if not November, before they could touch the boat. The actual forestay and everything was fine, but the bow had significant damage. And that led to a lot of issues. So the owner covered all that, but it was done in Puerto Rico, and I've spent probably double to triple of what the owner paid for the initial fix to fix everything that Puerto Rico did not fix adequately. So my windlass went out last year. Well, first the radar wasn't working, the autopilot wasn't working. Then 10 days later, the engine hydro locked, and the solar wasn't working because they put a positive into a negative and a negative into a positive. That was reassuring as they're installing my engine at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I got to Florida, and obviously very tight on money at that point because I was kind of hoping to go straight into chartering to start paying back my loan for the boat. And all my savings went towards the new engine. The windlass that was on the boat was only a automatic on the way up, and being solo, I wanted to be able to control it from the helm, so I got a new windlass. So pretty much, and bow thruster. So I pretty much spent all my money on those three things: the engine, the windlass, and the bow thrusters. And so I wanted to go straight into chartering, but with the engine hydrolock, that did not happen. And then I finally got back out here, whole new exhaust system, brand new engine, and the windlass went out. So I was raising my 88-pound anchor by hand for a few months. That was not fun. The bow roller actually was not working, which Puerto Rico had installed. They were supposed to redo all this welding in the front, and they pretty much just threw scrap metals on it. And so things were breaking constantly. The furler had broken, and they tried to tell me and the owner it was just a bearing, but I had to get a whole new furler system. And I can't even remember everything else. The whole bow was an absolute disaster.
Lauren, you are
windlass
really,
had just
you're painting such a beautiful picture of what it's like to make the transition into becoming a charter boat captain. I mean, this is,
it was
it sounds-
terrible. I mean, I
dive
was,
right in and enjoy. So let me just ask you this. Young, attractive woman, charter captain on your own. Did you ever think security, safety, how are you going to deal with the charter guests had a little bit too much to drink? What made the decision for you to go out and be a charter boat captain on a sailboat like this and go through all that you had to go through, and even face additional challenges, just simply because of who you are? I mean, what was all that? What in that whole mix of stew? What was going on?
so I chartered with Steph and another friend, David. And so I kind of knew the whole thing. Social media was grown enough to get clients. And so I didn't do many, just like random people asking. I kind of got to talk to each person on Instagram, and think I did one charter. And then I was like, you know what? It wasn't even one charter, just sitting in Florida, and I had a swimsuit company reach out to me, and they came on. I was like, I can get some really cool people on the boat, just like genuine, great people who love the ocean. And it was kind of at that moment, I was like, no solo males.
Mm-hmm.
So I made that call from pretty early on. And I mean, obviously, the male following between YouTube and Instagram is pretty large, but I would just tell people, if you bring your significant other, fine. But almost every single person respected that, which was also really cool. When I was doing the charters with Allie, we did take solo because we were pretty much filling all the cabins. There were other females on. We were sharing a room. So there wasn't really a concern just because there's so many people on. But yeah, when I was operating solo, I never took a solo male on. And that was one of the biggest.
I hope Eric's daughter's listening to the part about no solo males on board.
Well, I'm just kind of curious because we want to get to know you in this podcast. We want to know what the lifestyle is like for you to be a charter captain that has an opportunity to do an Instagram, YouTube following that's as large as yours. And just a lot of things that are kind of going on with what you're doing that I know our readers are interested in. And there's some concerns out there that I'm sure that you had to go through that we'd like to understand a little bit better. So right now you're basically doing free diving charters, fishing charters. What kind of charters are you doing?
So I actually made this announcement 2 days ago on YouTube. I am done chartering. And that is because of YouTube. But before, it was kind of what the guests wanted. So I kind of had a questionnaire they'd fill out. Do you want to free dive, spearfish, sail? And so I'd try to kind of get an overall view of what they were looking for. And then I'd pick the island based on that. So whether it was shark diving, free diving, just general sailing, if they want to see stingrays or turtles, And I kind of just tried to offer as much as I could because I do love every aspect of the ocean. And some people, we wanted to go dive in the morning and have a chill afternoon drinking on the back of the boat. So it was kind of a big mix. And I really loved every single person that came on the boat. It was always a good time.
That's pretty awesome. What do you mean by, let's go back to what you just said about you're done chartering? I didn't.
Yes. So when I was running the Charters with Allie back in last fall, we did back to back for 3 months. 1 month we actually didn't charter, but we are helping out with some other free diving stuff going on that island. And I'd planned all this before YouTube ever blew up. And then YouTube kind of started increasing. And I was like, okay, making these videos once a week is actually producing stuff and it's worth it. So I was chartering for, I think we did 3 nights. It was either 3 or 4 nights for each trip. And then those other few days I was trying to turn around the boat, which was laundry, groceries, fixing anything that had broken, and trying to create videos. And I was burnt out to no end by the end of it. I was a zombie in between those. And I was just like, you know what? YouTube is almost to the point where it's covering costs.
Awesome.
And so we planned some hammerhead diving trips in March. And as I kept seeing YouTube grow, I was like, that will be a good last one to go out on, a good time, doing everything I love, having good people on. And so we were sailing, diving with the hammerheads, swimming with the stingrays, just beautiful coral reefs. And it was really the best way I could have gone out. So now YouTube is covering costs, and obviously there's big expenses that pop up, but I kind of try to use that charter money as kind of a cushion moving forward. And so yeah.
So that's pretty interesting, coming from your earlier comment in the podcast about didn't think that the YouTube thing was really going to take off much.
I never planned on it. All I knew about YouTube was what some of my friends had mentioned here and there, because they all try to get into YouTube. So I was kind of a part of them. During COVID, they had tried to make videos and then life went on and they stopped. But I kind of gotten to learn a little bit from them. And I had downtime when I was in Florida waiting on the new engine. I was like, you know what, let me just see if I can pull together some videos, because I wasn't even really filming for YouTube when I got the boat. But it started to do well, and I figured why not keep going. So now I have a 50-foot boat that's made for chartering and maintaining that. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm really happy with the direction everything's taken, because now I get to go off to the Caribbean and Panama and the Pacific, whereas chartering, it does tie you down because you can't just go with the wind. You're always going from here to there, putting wear and tear on the boat. So it is hard. So I'm really happy that things have gone the way they have.
It's always a win-win if you can do in life to generate income what you love to do.
Definitely.
So very few people actually get an opportunity to do that. And I know a lot of our listeners and readers are inspired to be able to just cast off the lines and be able to go live the dream. And not everybody can be an influencer content creator that's generating enough income on YouTube or Instagram or any of the other social platforms to continue their lifestyle. We actually have a really good relationship with the Young Cruisers Association, Logan and Caroline and Brian. And when we were engaged with those guys up at the Annapolis Boat Show, we saw this tremendous sense of community at the party that I believe you were at as well, where you got.
No, I actually didn't get to make it. I was doing the charters down south. It looked amazing though. I'm
telling you, it was, and I had some seasoned veterans. Bob Itchen was with us there as well. He was the one that gave away the YouTuber of the Year award. And I think it was to Colin and them with Sailing Parlay Revival. Anyway, the excitement was just absolutely electric. I have not seen personally anything like that in the sailing community in decades. And it just is bringing in so many new boaters, cruisers, people to enjoy this lifestyle. It's extremely popular on YouTube. and so many different people are engaging with a lifestyle. You're a big part of that now. That's your life now, Lauren,
Yeah.
which is really pretty cool. All these total strangers that kind of stepped up to help you out in order to get you to where you are.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
I would like to touch on that. The community is really amazing out here. That's actually one reason that I decided I could go ahead and get my own boat. I was just sitting with Stephanie and a lot of our good friends that we've kind of made throughout cruising. I was like, you know what? Even if I don't know how to fix something or what the problem is, there's someone I can call. I now know people I can call that can be like, did you check this? Or maybe you should move forward doing this. And that community has only grown. And speaking of young cruisers, I was actually cruising with Brian and their group that they had last year, a few weeks ago, through the Abacos. And it's really, I wouldn't have known them if it wasn't for young cruisers. And there's a lot of people I've gotten to meet through young cruisers, and it's a really special community, and it's really fun to watch it grow because everyone is just supporting everyone. I think that's kind of something this community's become about, is we don't expect anything from anyone. We're all willing to jump in and help each other or just have a good time, whatever it may be. It's just always a good time with positive and general uplifting. And it's a really cool community.
I think there's like 7,000 members, 7,000 plus members.
Probably.
Of the Young Cruise Association, which is really quite incredible when you think about the global reach that the Young Cruise Association has right now. And they are not all influencer content creators.
No.
There's a very small portion of them that are even involved in that. These are people who genuinely love to cruise. They love to go out and adventure, and they're part of this community because it's a community of like-minded people who want to just go out and have those adventures and are so situated in life that they can do that and have the nerve, the courage to cast off the lines and go. And it's about the cruising. It's not about, well, let's go in there and figure out how to network so that we can make millions of dollars on YouTube. You know, that's
that
not
probably
what
won't
it's
happen.
About. Right. It probably won't happen. And I think ask any successful YouTuber, hey, if that's your goal, it's kind of like going out to Hollywood with a satchel of clothes, thinking I'm the next Brad Pitt, which I've been compared to Brad Pitt a lot, but that's a separate stuff.
Isn't that what you did though, Eric? Is go out to Hollywood with a satchel, thinking you were the next Brad Pitt?
We don't have to talk about that right now, David. This is about Lauren. So anyways, that is such an incredible community to be a part of, and I'm so happy that you're there.
Yeah, I am too. We also had that flotilla back in February, and it was middle of the season, so people are kind of either coming up from the Caribbean or going down. So there's a lot of hit and miss, but we met so many amazing people in those few nights, and the weather wasn't going to behave for the original date. So we all kind of just sitting in Staniel Key, like, do we move down there? Do we not? Raph and Sasha had been planning this for a while, and they're like, Lauren, what do we do? It's like, here's what we do. We plan a bar hop for the night it was going to happen. That's not going to get canceled. We're all going to get to meet each other, and it's going to be a good community event. I said, and then the next weather window you guys get, host the flotilla. I had to go back for charters, but we got a weather window, and I think we had 12 boats. We all made a circle. I think they did a time lapse of it, but we just had probably 10 dinghies zipping around, helping all the monohulls back up and tie the lines. But again, we got to meet so many like-minded people. And I want to touch on that because for me growing up, I never really met people that I felt that I connected with. I always felt like in college, I didn't really have any college friends. I just had my friends I'd go diving with during the weekends. And cruising, I feel like my network has just expanded a million times over. And it's just people that you meet and you connect with immediately. And you may not get to see them for another year, 2 years, but that time goes by and you see each other again. And it just feels like you start right where you left off. And I think that happens from the like-minded people in this community, which is really special on top of that.
Well, Lauren, tell me which boat is yours.
I was
not supposed to do that yet.
While I'm showing this illegal Ford Advanced Edition of Latitudes and Attitudes, and I'm going to get in tremendous trouble as a result of this. We are spotlighting Young Cruisers Association in the fall boat show issue of Latitudes and Attitudes, and Lauren was talking about the rendezvous that they had down in the Bahamas. And this happens to be an aerial image of some young cruisers just hanging out,
Yep.
putting their boats all
So
together.
there's a big catamaran at the top, and then
Yep.
2 over is my monohull.
Nice. So you are in this. You made the cover of Latitudes and
I
Attitudes.
actually took
Twice.
that picture.
You took this
Wow.
picture? You took this picture? Do I need to put photo credit Lauren Landers on there? Holy mackerel. All right.
Wow.
It was yet to be seen whether or not I'm going to have to edit out this whole section based on how much crap I get for showing
This
our
is
advanced
going to
cover.
cost us a lot. You know what? I want to, what I want to say, I want to go back to the Young Cruisers part, because, you know, the more people I talk to, I mean, the Young Cruisers Association is getting a lot of recognition right now. But so this magazine's 26 years old, going on 27 years old. There's a whole readership of this that has been doing this for generations already, cruising. And I know if you go to the Young Cruising Association website, you see stuff about how there was cruising, you know, 60s, 70s, whatever. And, you know, and it talks about sometimes you put the phones away, right? It's like using technology to connect without, you know, without being overwhelmed by the technology itself and consume with it. But, you know, sometimes you put it away and you just let what's happening at the fire on the beach just happen without being recorded and stuff like that. I think for me, what's really cool, and this gives hope to old guys like, you know, Eric, older guys like Eric and old guys like me. Hope is that, you know, young doesn't mean age. Young means young in heart too, right?
Yeah.
And that's super cool. And it's like, don't wait till retirement before you get out there and actually start enjoying life, right?
Definitely.
So yeah, so that's hope for Eric. It's hope for me. It's hope for all us old guys.
Okay, David, you've gotten your point across. I'm old. I got it.
Well, I was working on it.
No.
You know, so I guess one of the things I want to talk about, you know, just going back to an old reference, just dating myself a little bit. Tom Petty said waiting is the hardest part. And you described in your article about sailing back to Lauderdale solo without the engine. You talked about that a little bit early on in the podcast, but you mentioned that the 4 months of waiting for your boat really changed your life. That's a pretty powerful statement to make.
They did. I mean, I think in society, we're always, you need to go working. This is how you have to live, and you have to make money to do all this. You need to constantly make money. And as I said, I thought I was going to be able to jump straight into charters, and this engine happened, and all I wanted to do was be out here. This was where all my friends were. They were rafted up. They were diving every day, spearfishing. And I just wanted to be out here so bad. And first, the issue with the engine throwing the rod. So there was, I don't know, 4 or 5 months of waiting. I finally get to the boat and I get it. And 10 days later, it's hydrolocked and I'm going back to Florida to wait again. And all I wanted to do was be out here. And my mind was just like, it was, I think, the whole thing of me just wanting to be out here, not having any income. And my whole dream just felt like it kept getting crushed over and over. And I'm a pretty religious person. And it was just, why is this happening? Why is this happening over and over and over again? Why am I waiting? I have no income. I'm in more debt than I could imagine. I didn't know how I was going to pay any of this off. And so they came and looked at the engine, and within like 2 weeks, I was like, great, we're getting this ball rolling. The new engine could be there within another week. Great. Haul out. Lucky I have, again, the community's great. We had to use 2 dinghies and push my boat to the haul out through Fort Lauderdale under bridges, into the back into the tiny haul out slip. And that just, again, the community's great. And I couldn't have done it without a lot of the people in my life. And so I'm hauled out. They get the old engine out, new engine in within days. They have the exhaust looked at. I was putting a water maker in, so they had all that sorted. So all their work was done within 5 days, and I thought it was going really well. And then I kept asking about the exhaust. They were like, oh, we have a meeting. They're coming. They came. finally I called the exhaust and they hadn't even heard from the company installing my engine.
Mm.
And I'd been paying for 2 extra weeks in the yard at that point. So I told them I'm splashing. So I couldn't even use the engine at that point because they had taken all the exhaust out and everything. So I paid for 2 extra weeks in the yard. Money was a big stress at that point, and dinghied back to my anchorage. So now I'm in an anchorage in Fort Lauderdale, which is muddy, not great holding. And I really have no way of moving the boat if a squall comes through or the wind shift. And so that was another big stress. The boat was unlivable. I was having water leaks like crazy. So there's no water in the boat. The whole inside was just torn apart from the engine. Luckily, my grandfather lived close, so I was kind of staying with him, which also meant leaving my new boat at anchor in the middle of the city. But I was just waiting, and then the day I splashed, I thought that the exhaust was going to be rolling. And so my mom had actually come down to help me splash and kind of get the boat back in order. And I remember calling, and this was probably 2 months in, and I called them, and they told me it's going to be another 6 weeks if we can go this route. That's a good time frame. And I just remember breaking down, and I looked at my mom and I was like, the exhaust is going to be another 6 weeks. And she was like, I don't know what's going on right now, but everything happens for a reason. And I definitely agreed with her, because that was the first thing that came to my mind was everything happens for a reason. And I wouldn't have started YouTube. And I definitely became stronger and just kind of accepted that things are going to happen. If I was good on money, I probably wouldn't have cared as much, but I had a few little captaining jobs. I'd make a few hundred here and there, but that part just really tested me, and I had to rely on my faith a lot, and that everything is going to work out. My dad always told me, do what you love, money will come, it's all going to be fine. And I was doing what I loved, and I couldn't wait just to be back out here. It's like, I don't care if I have to fix a boat every day, if I can just see that pretty blue water and jump in the blue water at the end of fixing something. And so I just kept focusing on that. I knew it was all going to be okay in a matter of time. And as soon as we got the engine working, I think it was early April, and I'd gone back in January, we did a sea trial, and my rudder all of a sudden had a lot of play. So I had to haul back out again and fix the rudder bearing.
Man.
And I was in and out of the yard within days for that one. And I splashed. And that night that I splashed, my friends and I went to the grocery store. They helped me kind of get the boat ready. I installed new solar controllers that night. And then at like 3 or 4 a.m., I left to go back to the Bahamas. And that was actually the video on YouTube that did really well and kind of kicked off everything. But that was a really good moment. I was just like, it's okay. The whole boat is not fixed, even after 4 months of sitting. I was like, I need to start. And everything just kicked off. I had a good group that came on for a charter that week. And everything just started being like, okay, I'm back where I'm meant to be. Everything's going to work out. And yeah, it just put me through trials, but made me kind of just trust the process a lot more.
You know what? If God sees you to it, he'll see you through it, right?
Yeah, definitely. And things
100%.
have, I mean, we all know how boats go. So there's incidents like this all the time. I think it just teaches us a lot, and we get to problem solve. We know boats aren't going to work most of the time.
Make no mistake, if you don't have faith, you shouldn't get a boat. Faith is required. I think that there's a clause in every contract when you buy a boat that says, do you have any faith? You're gonna
There
need
should
it.
be.
Well, you gotta have faith.
Not yours.
You gotta have faith, but you gotta have faith in yourself too. I mean, I'm hearing all this stuff about your boat and your repairs, and I'm thinking, okay, you got a marine biology degree, but did you take like a lot of shop classes too? I mean,
No.
How did you learn all this stuff?
No, I remember my engine was hydrolocked again. And like, they're like, take the fuel injectors out, lift this. I didn't even know what these parts were called. I was labeling them the wrong thing on the phone, and the mechanic kept correcting me. Like, that's not what I said to do. He's like, do this part. I mean, I was doing what he told me, but I didn't know the names of any of it. And I'm just there like hand cranking the engine to get all that water and oil mixed. get it out. And there's been times like that with everything. My shaft seal started leaking and my boat actually almost sunk a few weeks ago and destroyed my whole electric system that I had just installed. My bilge pumps went out in the middle of the night as well. And I actually had a friend visiting, and we were fishing with some local guys from Spanish Wells and doing some commercial mahi fishing. So we were going to go out fishing at 6 a.m. That previous night, we had just had an epic night fishing, like one of the best night of the whole trip. I'd seen my bilge pumps working, but I had an issue with, and I was like, okay, I moved the boat, so they're pumping for that whatever. I knew why they were going. I thought I knew why the bilge pumps were pumping. Before bed, I looked in and I had almost no water in the bilge. So I knew they had been working and it was good. Woke up at 5 a.m. and my inverter started beeping at me. I'm like, that's not right. It said all the batteries were at 0%. And my whole positive bus bar was underwater. The lower half of the engine was underwater. And obviously the bilge pumps had stopped working. So I was at 5 a.m. Like I found a bucket. I was just bailing water out of my boat. And my friend wakes up at 6 to the alarm to go fishing. I'm like, you can still go fishing. It's like, Lauren, your boat is sinking right now. I'm like, yeah, but it's fine. Like, you can go fishing.
You didn't happen to name your boat Lucky, did you?
That was the first time I was like, I'm done. I need to sell the boat. That was the first time I'd ever thought that. The whole electric system I just done, I had to replace now. But we found it was the shaft seal. So my 2-hour trip I'd taken to get to all of them to fish, it had come loose. And I just spent a week off grid, like literally off grid in the middle of nowhere. I was 50 miles from land, and I was just fortunate it didn't happen the previous week. And
what is the name of your boat, by the way?
Sol de la Mar, Soul of the Sea.
Oh, I love that. I love
it.
So with all of these incredible experiences behind you thus far, in just the few short years, months, days, and hours that you've been out there actually at sea, Lauren, tell us what is your next adventure? What do you want to? What's on the horizon for Lauren Landers?
Yeah, so I kind of feel like I fixed everything on the boat that could break at this point, or have replaced it. I say that, but something else will probably break. But I'm spending a few days in Nassau with a marine store nearby, just kind of fine-tuning every section of the boat. So a month ago, I made a list just working from the bow to stern, and I want everything to be good because I'm about to head to Grenada and the whole Caribbean. So it's going to be, depending on what islands I stop at, I could be offshore for 5 days or maybe just for 2 days at a time, depending on what the wind does and what course I end up taking. But I'm kind of branching out from the Bahamas and going to put Miles on myself in the boat. She's a really good blue water boat, so I have complete faith in her. And I think it's going to be a test for me more so because I'm so used to the Bahamas. I know the Bahamas like the back of my hand. So I want to go to some new places, navigate some new places, because my end goal is the Pacific next year. And so the Caribbean is going to be kind of my trial grounds. And then if that goes well, I'll head to Panama to cross the canal. And if it doesn't go well, I'll probably head up back to the Bahamas. But I don't really see any reason that I'll be heading back up here.
Absolutely inspiring, Lauren. I can't thank you enough for what you shared with us, with our readers, with our viewers here today. You have encouraged me to cast the lines off and go sailing as well.
Well, thank you.
Well, I hope neither one of us has to experience the kind of repairs that you had to go through. But I mean, I think Eric's got an old El Camino up on cinder blocks in his front yard. Maybe you can come by and help me fix that one of these days.
I will touch on that. As much repairs as the boats, I mean, a lot of people, we are all fixing the boats all the time, but I can say I've been very fortunate that all this has happened when it's happened, and it's all going to be worth it at the end of the day. So if I can give any encouragement with all the repairs, that is it, that it is going to happen, but it is going to be worth it. And you will get to learn a lot.
Don't let it break you, right? Keep going.
Exactly.
You know, you wrote about taking your dad's advice, right? I'm a dad. I wish my kids took mine a little bit more, but you know, they're teenagers, almost 18 and almost 17. So maybe they'll take it by the time they're 30. Eric's got kids. Seems your dad's advice went pretty well for you. So
Yeah,
what kind of advice you have
definitely.
for anybody out there?
I honestly can give the same. If you can follow your passion, I'd say find out what your passion is. I know a lot of people, I mean, I grew up in a small town and you don't necessarily get to experience everything. So you might not even have done what your passion may be because you're somewhere where you don't get to experience it. So I think like we can definitely find inner joy and happiness in any walk of our life because it's not found by doing things. It's found by yourself and just all that. I definitely encourage people to find their passion. And if you're dreaming of something or if like something's always on your mind, go do that thing because that's really going to fulfill you and you're going to feel good at what you do. I always felt a little out of place and I finally feel like I'm doing somewhat good at what I do and I feel comfortable doing it. I never thought I'd be a captain, but I feel really comfortable and confident driving my boat and other boats and such. So I definitely encourage people to find their passion and stuff will make sense after that.
Love it.
There you have it.
Lauren, again, I can't thank you enough.
Well, thank you guys.
Yep, I'm super excited about this opportunity to share this time with you today, and absolutely love the cover of the latest issue of Latitudes and Attitudes, including the one that you took the photo of. So, as publisher of Latitudes and Attitudes, Eric Kyle wanted to sign off here, saying thank you again. David, I'll pass it off to you.
Well,
Thanks,
you guys
Eric.
so
You know,
much.
so Lauren, again, this was awesome. I mean, we've been chatting back and forth at email. We're so excited to put this photo on the cover. I mean, just going beyond this issue, I think I'm excited just to follow what's happening in your life. I think it's pretty
Well,
awesome.
thank you.
You know, like you talk about the community, it is about a community, and
Definitely.
I'm so stoked to be part of it. You know, hope to meet you in person at some point in time or another. You know,
I
anybody
hope so as
listening.
well.
Oh, 100%. Anybody listening, any of our readers out there, follow Lauren Landers and all our socials, and you know, make sure you check out the YouTube stuff because that's pretty epic. And if you need to learn how to, you know, check your fuel injectors or maybe whatever, so you know, drop Lauren a message. She'll tell you.
She'll walk you right through it.
She'll walk you
Yeah,
right through it.
exactly.
Awesome. Cheers, guys. Thanks,
Well,
Lauren.
thank you guys.
Thanks, Lauren. Appreciate
My
it.
mind is made up. I'm gonna say